Welcome to the Teacher's Lounge podcast, the place where educators come to recharge, reflect, and reignite their passion for teaching. I'm your host, Rachel, and each week we dive into real talk, practical tips, and inspiring stories from the front lines of education. Whether you're sipping coffee on your planning period or grading papers after hours, this is your space, because you deserve support, not just strategies. Let's get into it. Welcome to our very first episode of the Teacher's Lounge, your go-to space for real talk, fresh ideas, and a whole lot of heart. Today, we're diving into a topic that every single teacher has wrestled with at some point: classroom management without the drama. Because let's be honest, sometimes it feels like we're one broken pencil away from chaos, right? But here's the truth. Classroom management doesn't have to feel like a battle. You don't need to yell, power trip, or hand out 17 detentions a day to maintain control. In fact, the more we remove the drama from it, the more powerful and peaceful our classrooms become. So grab your coffee, do a little stretch, and let's talk strategy. Let's start today with a bold, honest question. What really causes drama in classroom management? Now, I know the easy answer is the kids, the backtalk, the side chatter, the students who seem like they were born to press buttons. But here's the truth that not enough people talk about. In most cases, the drama in classroom management doesn't start with the students. It starts with something deeper. It starts with power struggles, when we feel like we have to win every battle to stay in control. It starts with lack of structure, when we're winging it day by day, hoping students just know what to do. And it starts with our own emotional reactivity. The tone in our voice when we're already running on fumes from the week, the month, or the school year. Let's be real. We're human too. Sometimes we walk into the classroom carrying stress, exhaustion, and 1,000 tabs open in our brain. And when we try to manage a room full of students without first managing what's happening inside ourselves, that's when the drama sneaks in. So here's what I want us to consider. Drama thrives in classrooms where expectations are unclear, where emotional energy runs high, and where students don't feel safe or respected. Think about that. Not just safe physically, but emotionally. Do they feel seen, heard, understood? Because the truth is, classroom management isn't really about control. It's about relationships, boundaries, clarity. It's about the energy we bring into the room and the culture we co-create with our students. And that's why, before we even talk about behavior charts or attention signals or classroom rewards, we need to talk about the foundation. The one golden rule I believe in more than any other: connection before correction. Say that again with me in your head if you're multitasking right now. Connection before correction. Because students respond to people they feel safe with. Not perfect people. Not people who always have the flashiest anchor charts or the trendiest tech tools. But people who see them, hear them, make them feel like they matter. When a student feels safe, understood, and valued, they are far more likely to cooperate, participate, and yes, even self-regulate. So if you've ever had a day where everything felt like it was spiraling and no trick in your toolbox seemed to work, pause and ask, am I leading with connection or just correction? That one shift can change everything. All right, now that we've grounded ourselves in that truth, let's get into the practical stuff. Because once the drama's out of the way, that's where the real magic of teaching begins. So now that we've talked about connection before correction, and how drama often has more to do with energy than behavior, let's shift into what we can actually do about it. Let me share 5 simple, drama-free foundations you can start using right now to bring more peace, predictability, and presence into your classroom. 1. Clear expectations are everything. Let me say that again. Everything. We sometimes assume students should know how to walk in quietly, how to transition from reading to writing, how to line up without turning it into a mosh pit. But the truth is, we have to teach expectations the same way we teach content. Not once, not twice, but as often as needed. Instead of saying, "How many times do I have to tell you?" Try this. Let's try entering the room again the way we practiced. Quietly, eyes on the board. That calm redirection? It works way better than escalating. You don't have to get louder, just get clearer. 2. Predictability equals security. Students thrive when they know what's coming, and really, don't we all? Having a posted agenda, a familiar routine, and consistent transitions creates safety. Emotional safety. It tells your students, you're not going to be caught off guard here. You know what to expect. And fewer surprises means fewer moments where kids act out just because they're unsure, uncomfortable, or overwhelmed. So if your class feels chaotic, check in with this question. Have I made our day predictable, or are we winging it? Consistency is love in action. 3. Neutral is powerful. I can't stress this enough. Your calm is contagious. When a student is throwing attitude or energy your way, the biggest gift you can give yourself and them is to stay neutral. No sarcasm, no power flex, just steady, calm presence. Try saying, I see you're having a hard time. Let's take a breath and try again. This doesn't mean you're letting things slide. It means you're choosing regulation over reaction. That moment of calm, that's your superpower. 4. Nonverbal cues are gold. Why wear out your voice when your presence speaks louder? A well-timed glance, a slow walk toward a student's desk, a subtle hand signal. These are your secret weapons. One of my favorite teachers never raised her voice. She had the look that said everything without saying anything, and the class got it. The point is, you don't need to call out every behavior. Sometimes silence speaks volumes. 5. Build relationships daily. This one is everything. It's not flashy, but it's the glue. Greet your students at the door. Ask how their soccer game went. Tell them you're proud of the way they bounced back after a tough moment yesterday. These micro moments, they add up. They build trust. And guess what? Kids are way more likely to follow directions from someone who makes them feel seen, valued, and safe. So before you correct behavior, ask, have I invested enough in this relationship to be heard? Okay, so what if you've done all the things? You've got structure, you're staying calm, your routines are tight. And still, the class is on the verge of turning into a circus. First things first, take a breath. You're not failing. You're not alone. You're a human being teaching other human beings. And sometimes it's just one of those days. Here are 3 things you can do when things start to unravel. 1. Reset the room. Sometimes the whole class needs a reset. No punishments, no lectures, just a moment. Turn off the lights, pause the lesson, sit everyone down quietly. Then say something like, hey team, I don't think we're being the best versions of ourselves right now. Let's take 2 minutes and breathe. Then we'll start fresh. This models regulation. It shows that it's okay to pause, reset, and begin again. Sometimes a soft reset is stronger than a loud consequence. 2. Use restorative language. When you finally get a moment to address a conflict, resist the urge to say, why did you do that? That question usually leads to defensiveness or a lie. Instead, try, what happened? Who was affected? What can we do to make this right? These questions shift the conversation from punishment to ownership, from shame to reflection. And that's what actually helps kids grow. Dritter tag and support. Let's normalize this. Calling for help is not a failure. If a student's needs are bigger than what you can meet in the moment, tag in your counselor, your admin, your behavior specialist. Not to remove the student as a punishment, but to bring in support. Classroom management is not a one-person show. You're part of a team. Use your team. So remember, you don't need to control everything to have a peaceful classroom. You just need a plan, some calm energy, and a whole lot of consistency and care. You've got this. And if nobody's told you this today, you're doing an incredible job showing up for your students day after day with patience, creativity, and heart. So let's be real. Yes, some days will be messy. Some days will test your patience. And some days, despite all your best efforts, the room will still get loud. But those moments don't define your worth as a teacher. What matters is how you respond. With grace, with boundaries, with the strength to pause, and the courage to try again. You've got the tools. You've got the heart. And trust me, you've got what it takes. Take the breath. Reset the room. Ask the better questions. And don't forget, you're not alone in this. A quick story. Sometimes we talk about strategies and techniques like they're the secret sauce. But more often than not, the real magic happens in the quiet human moments. So let me share a quick story. I had a student once. Let's call him Marcus. Marcus was one of those kids. You know the type. Smart, funny, but constantly testing limits. He talked back, wandered around the classroom, interrupted lessons. And it wasn't just once in a while. It was daily, predictable even. At first, I did what I was trained to do. Firm rules, clear consequences, calls home. I followed the handbook. But here's the thing. It didn't work. He didn't change. In fact, if anything, we both became more frustrated. So one morning, I tried something different. Nothing big. Just a small shift in energy. As he walked through the door, I looked up and said, "Hey, Marcus, I'm glad you're here today." That's it. Not a lecture. Not a reminder. Just a quiet moment of welcome. And you know what? He didn't say much at first, but I kept doing it. Every single day. "Hey, Marcus, I'm glad you're here." By the end of week 2, he'd nod. By week 3, he started saying it back. And here's the beautiful part. When I did need to redirect him, when I asked him to refocus or sit down, he actually listened. Not because I'd won, not because I was stricter or louder, but because the relationship was there. He knew I saw him. And in that space of respect, everything shifted. No yelling, no drama, just connection. That moment taught me something I never forgot. Sometimes the best classroom management tool isn't a behavior chart or a system. It's a small, consistent act of kindness. It's the morning greetings, the inside jokes, the "I noticed you tried today." It's being the kind of adult who says, "I care about you whether or not you're having a good day." Because that's what opens the door for growth. That's what earns you the respect that no rulebook can demand. So if you're dealing with a Marcus right now, someone who pushes buttons and tests patience, pause and ask, have I shown this student that I genuinely care about them as a person, not just as a participant in my classroom? Because sometimes the real classroom management, it's not what happens in the moment of misbehavior. It's what happens in the moments before and after. And those moments, they matter more than we realize. So before we close out today's episode, I want to leave you with this. You don't have to be a drill sergeant to have a well-managed classroom. You don't need to raise your voice, hand out punishments like candy, or micromanage every second of your student's day. What you do need is this: clarity, because students thrive when they know exactly what's expected. Consistency, because routines create emotional safety. Calm energy, because your presence sets the tone. And above all else, heart, because connection is what makes it all stick. Let's be real. Teaching is hard. And classroom behavior? Yeah, it can get messy. But here's the good news. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. When you show up with connection, confidence, and compassion, you don't just manage your students. You inspire them. You model what it looks like to stay grounded in chaos. You become the calm in their storm. And that, my friend, is powerful. If today's episode gave you a fresh breath or a helpful mindset shift, send it to a teacher friend who might need it too. And if you've been enjoying the Teacher's Lounge, would you do me a quick favor? Leave a review, subscribe. It's a small thing that makes a big impact and helps us grow this beautiful community of rockstar educators who are doing the hard and holy work every day. Until next time, keep showing up with love, keep leading with strength, and never forget, your students are so lucky to have you. Talk soon.